So recently, Modern Drummer magazine dropped a rig rundown video for Zac Farro of Paramore when he's on tour with a band. What I found really interesting about this video was that there was a huge surge of views towards the end of the video where Zac is playing through the song This Is Why. And I thought people are interested in how to play those parts, why not break down and teach them to you? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to play the bridge to the chorus and the chorus itself for the song This Is Why by Paramore with Zac Farro on drums. Let's take a look. Hello there, my name is Will and welcome along to another What's That Groove. We're going to begin with the bridge going into the chorus for This Is Why, and I am using the demo that you see from the Modern Drummer magazine. So I know some of the parts that he plays live seem to be a bit different to what you hear on the record. Perhaps I'll do a breakdown of both of those things as well. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, but I am focusing on what he demos and how you can play that. Interestingly, the choices that he makes are fascinating from a compositional point of view. For example, in this bridge here, typically a rock song like this one, the snare drum would probably land on beats 2 and 4. That's what we're used to hearing. So we've got an 8th note groove, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but he has changed things and he has displaced one of the snare drums an 8th note later. So the first snare actually lands on the and of 2. So now we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The bass drums land on the first 2 hits of the ride, 1 and the and of 1, and then also we've got a bass drum landing on the and of 3, which gives us this sound. Listen to how different that sounds if you had the snare landing on 2 and 4. By just displacing that snare drum, he creates space in the groove, which is actually going to make the chorus make more of an impact when he then goes back to having a snare drum on 2 and 4. It's a really clever way of just creating a different kind of feel and atmosphere to a part of a song. There are also some ghost notes to add in and a drum fill as well. So you'll probably learn and realise quite quickly that dynamics are a massive part of trying to learn these parts that Zac Farro plays in the song. In this next section, we're going to look at adding ghost notes to the drum beat we just learned in the previous step. Now, ghost notes are when you play notes quieter. They should be like a ghost. They're there, but you can't necessarily always see them or hear them. But they do make a massive difference to how the drum beat feels and sounds. Now, this can be quite a challenge if you've not tried something like this before. But what I want to do is break down what happens initially between the 2 backbeat snare drums. Remember, one of those snares has been displaced to the and of 2. So the first ghost note actually happens immediately after the loud backbeat. So you're going to have 2 hands hitting at once on the and of 2, followed by a very quiet note on the snare drum. That then is then followed by a right hand on the ride cymbal and then another ghost note on the snare drum. You then arrive at the bass drum that lands on the and of 3 and then the backbeat that lands on 4, just like it did in our previous step. If I then put that in context to the whole bar, I then want to add in one more ghost note on the very last 16th note of the bar, the out of 4, which is almost going to help us reset the groove. it for 3 bars, and that brings you then to that build into the chorus with a hook of a drum fill that happens throughout the entire song. So you've got 1 and 2 and being built up on the crash, and then 3 and a 4 and a. That fill there is massively important to the whole song. He plays it in different places around the kit, but it's a real hook that you hear throughout the song, so you really want to get that down. So it's 3 and a 4 and a. With the crash as well. Once you have that down, we can then move on to learning how to play the chorus in our next step. So I don't want to get carried away here, but this chorus and the drum part that Zac Farro plays is a masterclass in how to take a pretty regular normal drum part and turn it into a proper catchy hook for a hit song. So I'm going to teach it to you in 2 parts. The first part will work fine with the song, but the second part is really going to show you how you can sound more like Zac Farro. So first of all, we need to look at the structure of this chorus. It's made up of a 4-bar loop, and this 4-bar loop is in an A, B, A, C structure. That means that the first bar and the third bar, A, are the same. But the second and the fourth bar, B and C, are different. So we're going to learn each of those patterns separately, beginning with pattern A. Now the whole chorus is felt in 16th notes, and it's played mostly between the hi-hat and the snare drum. 16th notes are counted as 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And we're going to be playing in single strokes to begin with for pattern A, from the hi-hat to the snare. Your right hand's going to land on 2, but it's also going to land on 4, followed by your left hand on the E of 4. That's going to give us this. The bass drum pattern has the kicks landing on 1 and the out of 1 and the and of 3. Now that first part, the 1 and the out of 1, it means you're going to have a bass drum landing on your left hand because it's a dotted 8th note. So it's going to be 1E and So if that is new to you, that might take a bit of time just to get used to your right foot going with your left hand. We then also have a bass drum that lands on the and of 3. So that's pattern A taken care of. That's your first and third bar. We've got them in the bag, put them on the shelf, back from them in a second. Let's look at the second bar of the chorus. This is pattern B. Now it starts almost exactly the same. The kick drums are the same. They land on 1 and the out of 1. However, this time we're not going to hit the left hand with that bass drum. We're going to leave it on its own because we're going to be bringing our hands down to either flamming on the snare or between the floor and the snare drum. From there, we then have a nice simple and on the kick drum, 3, 4 on the crashes. If I then place that alongside pattern A, you can start to hear how it's coming together and how it's starting to sound like that chorus. Now, if we look at the fourth bar, pattern C, again, we're going to start in a very similar way. We're going to start with that same bass drum pattern, but the left hand is now back on the hi-hat. However, this time, we're going to play another dotted 8th note, but between the snare drum and the hi-hat rather than the bass drums. So once we get to the second beat of the bar, 1 E and a 2, we're actually then going to go E and a, bring our left hand down. So this then sets us up for the classic drum fill we learned earlier on, where we then have 3 E and a 4, and a. If I then put that all together, now you can really start to hear it all coming together. So now I'll play through all 4 bars. So A, B, A, C. And that sounds cool. You could play that along with the song, and maybe some other drummers would be like, cool, I'm done. I do not need to add anything else to that drum part. But what he does do, and what he does add, is the difference between your drum beat sounding like a cheese toastie and a croque monsieur. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure I do. Let's take a look at the next step. So let's get into it and see about how he transforms his drum part to take it to the next level. And it's all about the dynamics and adding in accents and open hi-hats to the chorus part. Now an accent is the opposite to a ghost note. That's when we're actually going to hit a note louder than the others. Now most of the changes that happen in this song happen in the section A of your chorus. That's your first and your third bar of the chorus. So we're going to be adding an accent. We're going to be hitting it harder on the hi-hat on the A of 2. So we're going to have 1 E and a, 2 E and a. That left hand there is now going to be accented. Now it is an accent that lands in your left hand, and a tip I usually give to most of my students is actually over-exaggerate. Hit it harder than you think you would need to, because when an accent lands on your what you call your weaker hand, it tends to kind of get hidden amongst the strong right hands. So really try and keep the rest of the singles quiet and then accent that left hand, and that should give you that kind of funky syncopated sound. Once you've got that accent in there, it's time to add in the open hi-hats. Now, all of these open hi-hats actually land at the same time as some of the bass drums in the groove. And that means that you're going to be doing kind of a strange movement with your feet, where your right foot's pushing down and your left foot is lifting up. So that can be quite strange at first. You might just want to try that as just individual hits with both your right hand and your left hand to begin with. And unfortunately, one of the most difficult ones to play is the first open hi-hat that happens on the second bass drum in that first and third bar of the chorus. And it's landing on the of 1 just before the snare drum. The next open hi-hat we're going to add in is on the third bass drum of that same bar, the one that's landing on the and of 3 just before the next backbeat snare. So those two open hi-hats and the accent added in will sound something like this. And then for our final change, we have an open hi-hat in the C section. That's the 4th bar of your chorus loop. And this is happening on 1. So on the first beat of the 4th bar. So now with those changes, you should end up with a 4-bar loop that sounds like this. Now, you may have noticed that the very last bar of the chorus, the 8th bar, actually has a different drum fill to the one we're used to. Instead of the one we're used to playing, we're going to switch it out for a... So the last bar of your chorus should sound like that. Partnered with that bridge part from the pre-chorus with a little bit of left foot 8th note hi-hat action in there, and hopefully you're starting to sound a little bit more like Zac Farro when he plays This Is Why live with Paramore. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope it's given you a better idea of how to play those parts. The idea of this channel is, rather than breaking down an entire song, is to look at things in more detail and hopefully teach you how to play the drums whilst also explaining your favorite drum parts. So if there are parts out there that you would like to see me break down in more detail and help you to learn the drums at the same time, pop them in the comments. Let me know what you would like to see and what you would like to learn. Hoping to slowly build a bigger and bigger community here, and it's starting to happen, it's starting to grow, but I need to know what kind of things you would like to learn. Let me know how you're getting on with this song, and if you can, press the like button and subscribe to the channel to be part of this growing community. That would be amazing. Until next time, my name is Will, and I'll see you again soon.